committee of the whole meeting that we started yesterday back to order. And the first item of business is the C.O.W. report on the Honey Harbor waterfront plan. And an update. Lori, you want to give us a close note on that before we...
Sure, thank you, Jerry. As council was informed a couple of months ago, we were unsuccessful in federal funding, which was disappointing after all the time the community put into that application. But that means that it requires that committee take staff some direction on what you'd like to do first. So I've sort of run through a number of options for you. We need direction. Do you want to continue to hold the $300,000 that we've put aside over the last couple of years for Honey Harbor project? Do you want to add more to it? Do you want to get the community advisory group back together to talk about what they see for the community with the significantly less funds that are available? And then Honey Harbor is in a bit of a state of hurry up and wait these days as they go through the accommodation review board for the school. So one of my recommendations is perhaps we should wait until that project finalizes itself, which shouldn't be too long. I think if I remember from the meeting, Councillor Kay and Mayor and I had, they were saying February or March. At least on one of the school boards. So I guess my thinking on the waiting is just that one of the things that we hear over and over again is that we need parking and washrooms in Honey Harbor. And if we happen to be unfortunate enough not to have a school, it may lead to places that can provide parking and washrooms. So I'm just not sure in what steps Cal wants to direct us to do next and in what order and for how much. So I've given you a number of options and we're looking for direction on where to go.
So I'll read the resolution. It's moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved, the committee of the whole recommends to council that, I guess these are all the options here.
This is one complete resolution, but council can take out or change anything that they wish to it in here. They're not either or. They're my recommendation of what you might want to do, but you may want something totally different. I'm not sure.
Okay. So I'll read the points. 300,000 be included in the 2017 budget as a placeholder for a Honey Harbor capital project or projects. Project or projects not be identified until the school board or boards complete the accommodation review process and the future of the schools in Honey Harbor is known, and that once the school board or board's decision or decisions are made, community advisory group, the CAG, be reinstated to review the community needs and wishes and report back to committee of the whole on options possible within the funding envelope available. The CAG chair, along with the economic development officer, engage with the owner of the Delawana to explore ways that the Delawana may be willing to partner with the township in any potential projects. So I open it up to committee for discussion. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Braid. I just wanted to comment that I don't have any disagreement with putting some money or holding a place marker aside on this. We were examining, a group that I was involved with, were examining the possibility of creating an education center in Honey Harbor, and abandoned that idea with the issue that basically we had a competing project in Honey Harbor, and it was making it fairly difficult to go for funding from organizations like FedNor to conduct a study about an education center. So we held off with the view that if the money was not forthcoming for the Honey Harbor waterfront road beautification plan, that we would go back at it if that came along. And it was my hope to be able to do that in the new year. And I don't know where that goes, but it would sort of address, I think, the the second point that you made in this recommendation, which was to work along with the owner of the Delawana. I'm not sure about what advisory group there is or should be. I think there's certainly current community members that should be involved, but maybe other people that can bring some things to the table as well. So those are my comments, and we'd be happy to, and plan, in fact, to move forward with the education center concept. And the first thing being is that we will need funding to conduct a study, and because this project may cost upwards of $20 million. So the starter for that is having a consultant who we've identified to actually do a study, and that proposal that would be put together would subsequently be put out in front of funders to bring in the money. So that's my comment.
Councillor, I guess there's always a chance that a new fund from the government comes along, but I don't think I'll hold my breath at this point. It's a wait and see. Councillor Bianco?
I think I agree with Councillor Kruger that we should probably hold the $300K for another year or so until we determine the project that we want to do in Honey Harbor. I think we should disconnect this resolution from the school board issue. I think that'll resolve itself, but and it's going to be resolved in the next couple of months. I think we can disconnect that, but I think we should get the CAG back together again. And the CAG has its members, and it's basically members up and down the coastal community and from the business community and so on. So I think we should get that together as soon as possible to look at options for Honey Harbor. And one of the items, of course, is the future of Delawana, and that's got to be connected to that discussion. I know the Delawana is quite interested in purchasing the road allowance along that roadway, so that should probably move forward. I think it's probably a condition of them to be involved in any project is that roadway issue has to be resolved. So I think the CAG could probably coordinate a lot of these activities, and if it's put together in February, March, I think the school issue would probably resolve itself. So I would remove the school issue from this resolution and get the CAG back together again. And I think the idea of this educational center, should be brought up to the CAG. I don't know if they didn't brief on it yet, but I think that's important that that be put into the mix. Maybe they can help out on that.
Councillor Rocha?
Perhaps C.O. could help us with this. The $300,000 we're talking about, is that an amount that's going to be brought forward? Because I noticed that we were looking later in the background to add an additional $150,000 to that $300,000. So in the resolution, it doesn't say we're bringing that money forward, or if that's money being allocated newly to the 2017 budget.
All right.
We're talking about that, but maybe the council put aside $150,000 each year in the last 2 years, including 2016. So it's something in a reserve, and we brought it forward in the 2017 budget. In the report, I talk about council may wish to put another $150 to it. We have not included that in the 2017 budget. So if you want to do that, you should talk about new money. It's money we carry forward from previous years.
Thank you. I figured that was the case. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Councillor Charles?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to speak with the owner from the Delawana, and he is still very interested in being part of the community and developing Honey Harbor as a partner. So, but I think we should seriously look at resolving the waterfront issues with him to allow him to move forward. And he has mentioned to me that he would like to work with the community to find out what the community would like to do with the area. So I think it's a very good idea to put the committee back together again as soon as possible and start moving forward with that so we can keep that partnership intact.
Councillor Edwards?
My concern is with regard to the store. My suspicion is that they are really struggling. They don't have the heat on in the wintertime, or if it's on, it's 40 degrees. Certainly, I think they've had a significant decrease in the amount of shopping that goes on, and I think we should be looking at that. And, you know, I had a discussion a year or two ago with Councillor Bocek, and I certainly see that one of the issues is probably that the utilities are killing them because it's an old building and not properly insulated, etc. I would say that it probably does 80 or 90% of its business in the maybe the 3 months from June 15th to September 15th. And if we lose that, it's going to be difficult. This summer I was trying to find some particular product my wife was sent here to find, and I didn't find it in the Honey Harbor store, and I went down to the Picnic Island store for the first time in many years, and certainly it seems to have a reduced amount of business and product for sale. So I think if we did a survey and really looked at who uses Honey Harbor, it's the cottage community, and they do need some degree of shopping. Mind you, I think the problem is that as product becomes less available, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You wonder whether it's going to be there, and so we shop. In my case, we always stop and pull up and only occasionally shop in Honey Harbor. So I think that's one of the key items, and I'd be curious as to what Councillor Kay views on that, because if that closes, I think that's going to be a major problem, especially in the summertime.
Well, there's been a suggestion to pull the school board issue out of the resolution, but I haven't heard anyone else chime in on that one. That could be done, and if there's concurrence, and then the CAG could be reinstated and start their process, you know, as soon as possible, sort of thing, to see what could or might happen around Honey Harbor. Lord?
I just wanted to clarify why he wanted the school board to hold them. Just so I understand, if one of the things is parking in washrooms, does it make sense to work with the school board? I'm just not sure where you're going with that.
Well, I don't think the school board issue is critical to really discussions with the CAG. I think the CAG is going to be discussing issues all winter long, and the school board issue will be resolved sometime this winter. But to say, you know, wait till April before the CAG meets, I don't think that's, in my opinion, necessary. I think the CAG should meet in January or February, and the school board issue will resolve itself. And because we're not making any decisions about where Washington's going to be until way into the spring, so I think that can be brought in after we find out. But we shouldn't tie the first meeting of the CAG to after the school board makes a decision.
Councillor Bocek, I'd like you to...
Yeah, I've attended the school board meetings, and I think the writing is on the wall what's going to happen down there, and the residents of Honey Harbor are talking about different options to do with the schools. Maybe if the Catholic school board ends up selling the school, they bring all the public into there and make a recreation center, a community center out of the gymnasium area and that kind of stuff. They're all looking forward to doing something. They have to do something if the schools become part of the closing. So, yeah, I don't want the effort put towards how we're going to spend this money towards helping the schools or doing something with the schools. I think we need to focus on other projects, but to take it out of the resolution, I think leaves the people of Honey Harbor feeling, oh, we're not having any choice in what we're doing with the funds that were put away for us. So I think it just keeps it in the mix, keeps it in the formula.
Councillor Cooper?
I think I agree with Councillor Bianco that it really is not that relevant. I mean, it's a big issue, but we're talking about a sort of an economic, I would hope an economic stimulus program here, in a sense, and for sustainability in terms of many different things in Honey Harbor. And so I would agree that we should pull that particular aspect out of there.
Councillor Bianco?
I just wanted to respond to Councillor Bocek. I don't mind leaving the school board in there, but I don't want the CAG first meeting to come after the school board issue. I think the CAG should meet as soon as possible, because I know that Dell will want to get things going. And to say, well, we're going to wait until April after the school issue, then we're going to gear up. I think we should gear up in January to get going on this. And then the school board issue will come into the mix sometime in the spring. And if these one or both of these schools come up for sale, I guess, are we going to buy it? You know, it's going to take probably the $300K just to buy it. And so that's another whole issue is how much the township is willing to pay for these facilities, because they're going to be up for sale, I guess, if one or both of them close. So that's a whole new conversation. And Kate might be helpful in that discussion, but
Sure.
let's get going on this thing and get the people back together and get some hope for Honey Harbor.
Lori, and then I'll come back to the table here.
So I think to split the difference of all of what I'm hearing, if you took the last big bullet that said, and that, once the school board, take the sentence, leave the and that, but take out the once the school board decisions are made, so that it just says, and that, the CAG's restated, and they work with the devil on. I think that, so leave the school board in, but it doesn't, it makes them parallel processes as opposed to one after.
I agree.
Take that. Equal for you?
Councillor Douglas, you're the mover, and Councillor Edwards, you're the seconder.
Just fine. But I do want to comment.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think the CAG should be looking at almost two alternative strategies, because if the schools close, I think we will see a decline in population. Because I don't think any young family is going to be wanting to have their kids on the bus for the length of time. So it becomes quite a totally different situation. If that happens, I think it will be, Honey Harbor will essentially become a summertime marina base. That's reality. I'm surprised that, well, maybe we would buy it for $300,000, but I thought I saw some number that the investment they had in the thing was $4.5 million or something, was it?
That's what they value, that's what they value now, so 4.3, and cost in 1.4.
Well, I guess it's always the highest and best use and what somebody's willing to pay. Maybe we would get it for $300,000.
But the Catholic school has no water or sewage.
No, we don't have any water. We don't have any
Water
water.
or septic, I'm sorry.
But the point is that is the fact of life. As Mike Kennedy told us many times, the water and sewer issue in Honey Harbor, that boat sailed about 20 years ago, and it isn't coming back, and it puts a big hindrance on doing a lot of development in Honey Harbor. So I mean, we need to be cognizant of that, but I would be very careful if we were to buy something, because all of a sudden I think you'd find your operating costs on that would be a big number. You know, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, and I'm not sure that, you know, there would be a justified benefit. But anyway, as long as the CAG is looking at both possibilities, and I really do hope that somebody considers the store, because that right now is it's the center of the village. Mind you, I would suggest that the liquor store is much more the center. And I had heard rumors that the liquor store was the second or third worst performing liquor store in the province. Whether that's true, I mean, I guess we could help encourage people to shop there more often. But anyway, I've said my bit.
Okay, why don't we leave a lot of this discussion up to the CAG, and they can do the legwork and bring us their ideas so that we can banter the ideas around. think I had Councillor Douglas first and then Councillor Cooper.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say that, yeah, I would agree with Councillor Wanko and Councillor Cooper on this aspect with regards to the schools, not to leave them out, but not to leave that decision and get the peg back together. And also, Councillor Cooper's mention of the education aspect, I think is a great initiative. And I'd like to just put it out there again. The meeting that I had with the owner of the Delawana did mention that to me, did mention about being very interested in cooperating with the township on parking and washrooms with a piece of property I think he already owns down there. So I just would hope that we would try to engage him as quickly as possible with CAG if that group comes back together, because I think he's a very good partner to have in the community.
Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, just a couple of comments, and I mean, I'm not going to mention exactly, because I'm not sure of the exact figure, but the figure that's bandied around for the school properties is really quite interesting, given that the waterfront property of the Delawana sold for probably, well, certainly way less than the figure that was mentioned for one of those schools. So when you put that into perspective, it's a bit psychedelic. Secondly, I too have had a number of conversations. In fact, the owner of the Delawana has sat in the past on a committee that we have for the education center and will again in the future. So, and I would welcome the chair of the community advisory group to also join our committee when we re-establish in the new year. So those are my comments. Good idea. Thank you.
So, Lori, the resolution worded all right that we can get the CAG meeting more or less in the new year. I guess we got to ratify this at council in January, but
Yeah, so it won't be till February or March, just remembering I don't really have an economic development officer right now, so it's just me. I'll get to it, but I will definitely reach out to the chair of the CAG and the owner of the Delawana just to tell them what council's desires are and get them thinking. This may be a good time before I get them together.
okay, so I did cross off and that once the school board's decisions are made. So that's not in the resolution anymore. That's okay with the mover and seconder? We get to sign this in a second. Not seeing any more questions, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. You took an initial cross-off. So the next item is moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Cooper. Be it resolved that the council approves the audio and video recording, storing, and sending of the Committee of Adjustment meetings commencing either January 2017 or January 2019. So open it up to committee for discussion. Councillor Edwards?
I think we should institute it right now. I mean, we're doing this at council. It certainly assists the public in that they can watch from their houses as they're outside the township, which probably 8 or 9 months of the year most people are. We've already got the system in place, and it is a public meeting, so I don't see why anybody should be concerned about their being on TV. I mean, if they're not willing to say it open with the streaming going on, then I would suggest they shouldn't be saying it at all.
Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, I've certainly given this matter a great deal of thought, and I thought this was an excellent report by our clerk about this particular matter, and I did have some contact with one of the municipalities that was mentioned in this report, and they indicated to me that, in fact, the Committee of Adjustment meetings were much more popular with the constituents in their municipality than the council meetings. I know that may be offensive to the council members sitting around the table, but they might not be as popular as the Committee of Adjustments, but I thought it was very interesting. And the reality is that, you know, the community can be, at times, very interested in planning processes. And I'd just like to remind our council here of a couple of things. Planning matters not only go to the Committee of Adjustment, they also come to council. In fact, yesterday, we had a very contentious issue around planning presented to us, which was recorded, and will be remembered by many of our constituents who watched the proceedings on 2020 or 2010 or whatever it is out here. And I think the same sort of accessibility to information should be made available to our constituents. And it's not just accessibility of information, although I'd say that's the primary one, but I would also say that our bodies, like council and Committee of Adjustment, need to be held accountable. We need to be consistent in terms of how we treat information like that, and whether it's in front of council or in front of the Committee of Adjustment, it's important to be consistent. And while some people may not like the word, or they feel it's over word transparency, it is a transparency issue as well. I would echo what Councillor Edwards has said about our constituents and having access to this information. The reality is that probably 99% of our constituents do not have access to these meetings for various reasons, including 6 months of the year when they're not here, that they're working during the week when the meetings are held, and whether it's a permanent resident or a seasonal resident, to give access to this information to our population is very important. And why I say that is that planning matters and decisions do not just affect the applicant that's standing in front of the Committee of Adjustment or the applicant that's standing in front of our council table here. It really is an issue for everybody in our township. It is their township. It is their planning documents, our planning documents. Everybody is a part of that. And having access around those decisions, I feel, is only fair to our entire population. So I would suggest that one of the things we might be able to do today is to defer this decision until our clerk could present the full story that was brought out by the study that she made to our Committee of Adjustment. The new Committee of Adjustment that's being formed in January, and let them hear the arguments for and against, and at least come back to us and come back to council in February with the thoughts that have been pulled from that Committee of Adjustment. So I would recommend a deferral until that body can hear the full story, not just, you know, sort of one side of it. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas?
I would support that from Peter. I think it's important that it go to the Committee of Adjustment. They've already spoken once, but perhaps with a two new councillors sitting on that committee, they will feel differently. I personally agree with a lot of what you're saying, Peter, but I think it's important that the citizens that have signed up for that have an opportunity, and I think it's a good idea to learn and take it back.
Councillor Reneko?
And I'll support that because the last word we heard from the Committee of Adjustment was unanimously they didn't want it. And so I think we have to take updated information. That should go back to the Committee of Adjustments, and another resolution be prepared to come back to council. What I don't want is to have people, the Committee of Adjustment is working quite well, and I would hate to see people resign because of this issue from the Committee of Adjustment. So I think we got to find that out, because it's going to be resignations as a result of this, and we really got to think about it, because we have two new members going on now. We don't even have to add 2 or 3 more extra members we have to find. So I want to keep the Committee of Adjustment together as much as possible and not make this as an issue of pulling the committee apart. So I'll support the idea of deferral and just going back to the Committee of Adjustment for more information, and I would request the clerks bring back a resolution from the Committee of Adjustment, probably, hopefully, with recorded vote and any rationale for or against, so we have a complete picture from them before we make a decision on this.
heard from 3 people to defer. I would support that. Other deferrals rather than debating this.
Yeah, I obviously stand behind transparency and accountability. I would lean towards 2019 when a new committee is formed, only because I'm not a fan of changing the rules halfway through the game, and I've stood fast on that. However, if we are going to defer this and take this to the committee and inform them, we may come out with a different resolution from them. So I would be fully in favor of the deferral so that we can approach the committee and get their feelings on the whole story that's been presented.
So I've got a majority here at this point that want it deferred. I'm going to call a vote on it so we can move on with our meeting. All those in favor of deferral? Thank you. Carries. So you got a direction bring it to January. Maybe January committee of adjustment. Anybody sign up for open forum? Left on this agenda. The next one is moved by Councillor Edwards, second by Councillor Cooper. Be it resolved that the township carry out a properly designed process, including a survey, in order to develop a strategic plan on economic development. The survey will be sent to cottage associations and community groups which represent a significant portion of the township's residents, both permanent, approximately 2,000, and seasonal, approximately 16,000, to determine the views of the majority of our taxpayer residents. So this is your item, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, and I thought this when I read when we got the letter with regard to the fishing tournaments. I said, okay, this is one piece of in a way, I think our economic development strategy to get people coming here. But then I was also at the GBA, I put this in before the GBA all-day meeting on Saturday, and clearly most of the people in the room want things to sort of remain the way they are. They do not want they don't want more borders, they don't want a lot more traffic, etc. So I think we need to sort out what is our economic development, and we need to be going back to the majority of the people. I mean, I realize there is a significant influence of the business community, but we should be listening to what the majority are saying, not imposing the views of a very small group. So while we could go and survey everybody, I don't think that's the way to do it, because I think most of that would end up just in the garbage with not a lot of thought. And if we send it out to our cottage communities and ask them, the executives of each of those, to give us some comments, then I think we have done our job and done our job on a reasonable basis. So that's what I was thinking of.
Okay. We currently have a strategic plan that council has passed. Lori, can you expand on that?
Certainly, Your Worship. You mentioned the strategic plan, but I think I probably should talk about the economic development strategy. So in 2014, council did undertake an economic development strategy. We spent about $40,000 in doing it. It was led by a community advisory group that did have significant seasonal representation. You had Don McDonald from community development, you had Alan Bowers from 12 Mile Bay, you had Adrian Conrad from the Delawana, you had Lloyd Lovell and Ron Cameron from Stewart Lake Association. We did do a survey at the time, which mostly was filled out 70% by seasonal residents. We only had 167 responses, but that's typical for how many we get. And the strategy really does talk about our market is seasonal visitors. There's not a lot of tourism stuff in there, so I think should have already captured what Councillor Edwards is talking about. And it was due to be actually completed by the end of next year, but you'll remember when our economic development officer went off sick, I had brought a resolution to council to say certain things won't be happening this year, and implementing the strategies of this, it was one of the things that got left off the table. So we'll be a little behind, but when she comes back, we will start on the strategy again. I'm not sure that we need a new strategy. I think we have a fairly comprehensive one that council was happy with at the time.
She's back now.
Yeah.
Let's get going here.
So can we have that strategy sent out to us?
Sure, available on
via email,
like this.
so that we can all
send it around.
brush up on it. Councillor Cooper, you had something to add?
Yeah, I just, I'm not sure that we shouldn't still try and update our strategy around economic development based on some of the things that I hear from our community, and I think the only exception I'd make to what Councillor Edwards is saying is that I think it would be very useful to survey the associations and various boards that we have within our township, community association boards, but I think also allow our constituents to have access to the same survey and get that information from them. So when we do this survey, maybe an update of what we have already. I do know that, for example, that we got quite a good response to the survey that we had for our budget process, and I thought that was...
we got about 200, which is not too much more than the 187 that we got.
Yeah, but it's pretty significant, I think, when you look at some surveys that you see in other communities, there's with much larger populations. Our community the people in this community are engaged, and so I would just recommend that we consider making sure that we're headed in the right direction with respect to economic development.
Lori, how old is this?
2014.
2 years old.
Do you have other councillors before we go to round two? Councillor Yanko?
Well, I was going to say that we've had other surveys and discussions about issues affecting the township. I know that the cottage communication seminar we had in June, I think we talked about economic development, and I think that was high on all the associations that were there. That was high on the list. I understand that another survey that I think the one we just did on the when we sent out in December, or not December, but back in October, wasn't economic development number 2 that came back as a top issue? I remember seeing economic development as number 2 issue within the township. I remember what survey that was. Was that the budget one?
I think so.
Yeah, it came in as a top issue with the tax base in the community. So I think economic development, it is one of the top issues, and I think the new council probably should update the strategy, because basically these strategies are for the term of council. So I think we should update it in 2018, 2019. But to do it after 2 years, I think it's a waste of time and money, and we just don't have the staff to do it right now.
Councillor Douglas?
I would agree with Councillor Yanko. We also have our community leaders meeting, and I believe a lot of this was touched on at that point, and we had good representation there. I don't know that we do that on a daily basis, or is that just called periodically? But if that was going to be done, I would suggest that's where we get the input, rather than spend more staff time, which we don't have, or money at this point, because we are limited with our staffing.
The others over here. Mr. Edwards?
It was really driven by what is happening with the Honey Harbor waterfront issue, the schools closing, etc. I think, now maybe, reinstating the tag, yes, but I think this is a significant that was a major part of our strategy, and therefore, since we didn't get the funding, I'm just saying, you know, we need to be looking at this, but I think we need to be asking not only just the local community, but just checking back, and that's why I was staying away from going to everybody, but just going to the boards and saying, okay, what do you think? And I don't see, you know, I'm not trying to do a lot of make work, but, you know, this is a major change not getting that funding here.
Mr. Cooper?
Perhaps we could put this in our to-do list for the future and when our economic development officer has returned, but I would strongly recommend that we ask our biggest customer, which includes cottage associations, but also our seasonal residents who spend a massive amount of money here. They're the people that we need to make sure that we're engaging in. If we're not, if the economic activity is shrinking, we need to find out how to better meet the customer's needs. Thank you.
Mr. Bochek?
I, for one, am quite pleased with the economic development and the growth in our main centers being back here and Port Severn. Unfortunately, Honey Harbour has run into quite a few challenges along the way, but with any development, you're going to have hiccups along the way. We've seen that. We've done a great job with the park over the years and getting the launch ramp in, and everybody's just ecstatic about it, but then things start to come to head, like fishing tournaments and parking issues and things like that we have to deal with. So I am still for economic growth and development in our three main areas, and I will remain of that opinion that that's where our efforts should be going, is to our three communities.
Kathy, any comment?
I've got lots of comments, but I haven't gotten it formulated in my head right now.
Okay.
I don't like the way this is turned. It's almost like, I don't know, sorry, can't say it right now.
Okay. So, Lori, would we have to put money in the budget to do this?
We don't have any ask to do an updated economic development strategy, for sure.
So we'd have to hire someone?
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting hiring anybody, I'm just suggesting we, as part, my real focus is on the Honey Harbor. Let's make sure that we've at least tested that with other groups in the township. That's all I'm saying.
What do you mean tested, Pat?
Get their input
On what?
on whatever suggestion now comes up. We had a plan before as to what we were going to do in Honey Harbor. Now, if the school's closed, that's a different situation, you know, and then, you know, I have a concern with regard to the store. I think that's where we should be doing something, making a building or doing something, because if that closes, we've got a major problem in Honey Harbor. It will just become a stop for the liquor store. Anyway, nobody wants to do it, so fine, let's move on.
Yeah. I'm going to suggest the CAG is going to identify a number of issues, and they can work with our EDO when she returns, or with Lori, or with committee of the whole, if they decide they want to come and talk to us with some of their ideas prior to the EDO coming back. So the gist I'm getting from the majority of the councillors is they don't want to move ahead with this at this point. So, Pat, do you want to pull this, or?
Sure, I'm easy. I mean, it was driven by the fishing tournaments, and yes, by all means, we should be encouraging fishing tournaments, but just not in Kawashima.
So consider it full. And last. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Douglas. Be it resolved, the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council adopt the following resolutions from the November 21, 2016 Water Quality Meeting. And the first resolution is moved by Wayenko and Doyle. Be it resolved that an ad hoc water quality testing committee recommends that Council direct staff to complete the Phragmites policy, including the $15,000 earmarked amount for Georgian Bay Forever. And the second item, be it resolved that the ad hoc water quality testing committee recommends that Council direct staff to determine if any trailer parks within the township whose septic systems are not the responsibility of the Ministry of Environment. Yes, I understand. So, Councillor Cooper, give us the highlights.
The highlights. Well, as far as the $15,000 being earmarked to Phragmites policy, it was something that the Water Quality Committee wanted to be brought forward. I'm of mixed opinion on this. I think that Phragmites is important. We've got lots of it right outside the door here, I think our Water Quality Committee has the opinion that perhaps Phragmites has an impact on the water quality. I'm not an expert on that subject, but I think that we've shown over the years that by keeping our eye on the quality of the water itself, that's very important. And this $15,000 earmarked for Georgian Bay Forever, who we're supposed to be doing water testing, in reality are now suggesting that it go to cutting down Phragmites and Honey Harbor. So I'm not sure about that, and so I'm not sure I can support that one. So the second part of this is basically a concern that was raised about trailer parks and that the township take the initiative to making sure that those trailer parks that are under our purview are properly inspected. So I certainly support the second portion of that.
Councillor Kay?
Could I possibly have clarification on what kind of policy the Water Quality Committee wants to try? Because it's not very explicit, it's kind of thrown in here. I mean, it's a policy including 15, or is it only 15? What is the policy? Are you not giving staff any direction on what kind of a policy to look at? Is it a grant policy? Is there, like what, we've had many discussions on this, but this resolution doesn't say anything.
It's what came up, was recommended by the committee. Maybe Councillor Wayenko, Vice Chair of the committee, would like to comment on this.
Councillor Wayenko?
I think at one of the council meetings, I think it was maybe in October, we downloaded the responsibility to finalize the Phragmites policy for the Water Quality Committee. I worked with GBF on that, and a policy to their satisfaction and to my satisfaction was prepared, and it's been sent back to staff for review, and that's coming, I think, in January. And basically the policy says that if any of the cottage association, many of the responsibility for the Bay, if any of the Bay organizations want some work done on Phragmites, to submit an application to the township, which will be reviewed and then sent on to the Georgian Bay Forever, who would coordinate the control of Phragmites on Georgian Bay. I didn't think the council should be saying, well, Honey Harbor gets this much, and Cottage Sheen gets this much, and Water Tasty gets this much, because we really don't know ourselves the extent of Phragmites in these areas. And the Georgian Bay Forever group have done a survey, so they know the extent. They have a list of priorities that they want to address on this Phragmites control. And so, given the options, they would decide who gets the funding each year. And to To date, we've been giving about 15,000 to the Georgian Bay Forever Group to do water quality work. Last year, some of that money went towards phragmitis. And I'm saying to them, well, I think we should put another 15,000 in the budget. And it may not all go to phragmitis. It may go to some water quality work. But earmark 15,000 for Georgian Bay Forever, and let them decide which portion goes to phragmitis and which portion goes to water quality based on their determination of what needs to be done up in Georgian Bay. And that's all that was. So basically, it's not an increase in budget because we've been given 15,000 each year anyway. So basically, it's status quo on that one. On the next one, I think Dave's here too. You prepared a report one time listing all the various trailer parks in the township, and there was about 3 or 4 trailer parks that had less than 50 trailers and so on. And we were thinking probably these trailer parks had less than the 10,000 liters per day or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So they may not have an MOE certification, so they may come under our responsibility. So I was wondering if any of these 4 or 5 trailer parks have had any septic inspection done on them over the last little while, and if not, what's the priority on it? Maybe you can answer that one, Dave.
Whether it's MOE or not, we do go out and we look at them, and if we see a problem, we advise the MOE. We will get in touch with them and make contact them and have them go out. I did a quick calculation. Nick actually sent me some stuff, and we may have 1 trailer park that is township.
Okay.
All the rest fall under MOE.
Okay, so that 1 trailer park you have on your list to do in the future.
Laura, you had something, probably with the phragmites?
Yes, Your Worship, I was going to suggest, just listening to what Councillor Kay had to say, that perhaps you wanted to break these resolutions into 2 and hold the phragmites piece until we bring the policy back. Because it does make sense that you perhaps don't want to approve giving money when you haven't seen what the policy looks like. And Councillor Mango did send it to me, but I have not opened it yet.
I certainly agree with that. I think this is premature. But the second portion of it, I don't see why we can't.
Okay, I have no problem with the, prospective phragmites policy. But what happens if you start getting into the inland lakes?
We have,
No,
So,
the lake
it's not
itself.
the inland lakes.
Just in the lake. That's news to me.
it's going in the
It's on the
road.
road, but not the lake.
It's headed to the lakes. I haven't seen it in the lakes, but it's real close.
Yeah, so there's no potential for help there from people, that's all.
Larry, maybe I can suggest that we pass the second portion and wait for the policy to come forward, but I think Councillor Kay raises a very good point that, this is sort of a bit of an ad hoc approach to phragmites and an immediate problem, and I'm not against dealing with immediate problems, but I think longer term, I think a more in-depth and more comprehensive policy maybe needs to be developed. So that would be my suggestion. The bird portion of it.
Yeah, Jessica's working out on a resolution here. Jane, did Georgian Bay Forever use the 15,000 the last few years, or?
Last one.
I thought there was a year or 2 that nothing happened with it.
Yeah, I can help you with that just because the invoices come to me and I usually pay them. So for 2014, we paid the $15,000. For 2015, actually we did because we never received a water quality report from GBF. That's my recollection of what happened.
What's been used up this year?
We've not got an invoice for 2016.
Okay, and the phragmites that we did do, was there any funding for that? I remember a lady came to us in the spring, but we didn't have anything in the budget at that point.
I don't recall that aspect of it.
I remember $5,000 from Honey Harbor Association.
Right.
Yeah, and Honey Harbor Association put in 5,000 and want to match funds.
And GBF took
GBF.
money out of this 15 and gave them 5.
Lori?
It wasn't necessarily that council couldn't find the money, it was that you didn't wish to engage in some kind of comprehensive policy, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Where we got to, where we are.
And now we have that.
Right.
Okay, Pat, you had something?
I just have one suggestion. I mean, it's an issue. Can we at least cut down the stuff coming in the road? Because it looks like that is probably that you're entering Fred White's country, because we need to cut that down right out there. The stuff beside the church, etc. I know it's just, okay, why don't we put up a sign that we're against Greg Mikey's, you know what I mean?
Okay. If you want to see Phragmites, Pat, just drive up to the next interchange and turn around and come back.
Well, yeah, but it's staring right at us coming in here, but that's fine, I mean, yeah.
It's in our backyard too. Okay, so the resolution that I originally read, we've crossed off the first part about the water quality testing. So this is in regards to trailer parks, and I think you already got your answer. So there's one trailer park that's under the purview of the municipality, and the other ones we look at anyway. So do we really need to task the building department with coming up with a report? You've already determined, you got your answer. Councillor Edwards?
I understand there was a letter sent in by a resident with serious concerns with regard to the one in Picnic Island. I assume that will be investigated. My other understanding is that the MOE have almost no staff. So, I mean, assuming that they're doing something, I think is very dangerous.
Actually, the MOE has been, I know that they visited probably 3 or 4 of our trailer parks, and they have done some inspections, and there's one trailer park that I've been in conversations with. They want to lower their flows to get into the township, but right now, we're not accepting the engineer's report.
I'm just giving you the global picture, and I understand that there has been a complaint put in with a bunch of questions with regard to the one at Picnic Island. I assume that's going to be dealt with, etc.
Yes, it will.
Good.
Okay, so in regards to the answer to this, it'll be in the minutes coming forward, so I don't think staff needs to do any other direction in regards to it. We can pass the resolution if you like. I'm going to call the question on it. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And we have one more here. Moved by Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Bochek. Be it resolved that the committee of the whole recommends to council that the following resolution be approved. And this is from the Water Quality Committee, and it states, be it resolved that the Ad Hoc Water Quality Committee recommends that council direct staff to complete the Phragmites policy, including the $15,000 earmarked amount to Georgian Bay forever. And that was carried at that committee. I guess what you're looking for is a deferral until the policy comes back.
Well, it says that we direct staff to complete the policy, which we're hopefully indicating to them, and then include the 15. So I think we just pass the way it is, because we're giving direction.
get ratified at January council. So I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. And one final one for this agenda. Moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that committee of the whole is now adjourned at 10 a.m. until the special meeting of Tuesday, December 6, 2016 at 9 a.m. except or at the call of the chair. So it's going to start at 10:10 a.m. All those in favor? Carries.
That was your outside voice.
Yeah, no, that's the voice.
That was very quick.
Oh, yeah, that outside voice.
We can, right?
Yes.